to Channel 4 news special report on the coal mine explosion at Mount Hope, West Virginia. Reporting is Shirley Love and Sandy Higgins. Here is Shirley Love.
Disaster struck in the small mining town of Mount Hope, West Virginia at 9 o'clock this morning. A gas explosion rocked the Siltex mine of the New River Company, killing 7 men and injuring 6 others. The men had just changed shifts when the tragedy occurred. Rescuers encountered a great deal of difficulty trying to reach the trapped men, and it was not until 6:30 this evening that the last 6 bodies were brought to the surface. In the process, 2 of the rescued were injured. Several others were overcome by the bad air in the mine. The mine, which had been inactive since 1939 until 8 years ago, is listed as a very gassy mine by the West Virginia Department of Mines. Local residents and miners have long considered it a dangerous mine with the gas and bad roof, but until this day, no serious accidents had ever occurred there, a fact attributed by local miners to excellent safety precautions and good luck. But the luck ran out for 7 men in the mine today. Here's Sandy Higgins with pictures taken at the scene.
By noon, a large crowd of spectators had arrived at the mine site. The Siltex mine is located in Kill Site at the south end of Mount Hope. Shortly after noon, the main motor came out of the mine carrying rescue workers and one of the bodies, the first one found. The rescue workers had been overcome, apparently by the bad air, and oxygen was administered to them. Then the body of Luther Bowyer was placed in an ambulance. By that time, W.F. Eigenbrod, State Superintendent of Mines, had arrived on the scene, and he went into the mine and directed rescue operations from there. At that time, 5 of the miners were still unaccounted for. Then the wife of Howard Morris arrived at the scene and tried to gain entrance to the mine. She was told that her husband was the second miner to be found. It was reported by friends of Mrs. Morris that she is the mother of 5 children, the oldest in the 3rd grade. Then there was a long wait while miners, members of the press, and others waited outside the mine for word on the 5 trapped men. At about 4:30, word came out that the 5 men had been found and would be brought to the surface shortly. Then another long wait. Finally, it was announced that the 5th trapped miner had not yet been found, and once again hope was revived that one of the 5 was not dead. However, there was still no announcement of who the miners were that had been found. Relatives outside the mine were still confused because they did not know if their loved ones were victims or rescue workers. Then word came that the 5th miner had been found, and as feared, he too was dead. Then at 6:20, 9.5 hours after the explosion occurred, the last 6 bodies were brought to the surface, wrapped in burlap. They were transported to Tyree Funeral Home in Mount Hope for identification. And the crowd of spectators slowly began to disperse.
The first miner to detect the explosion was William Burke of Scarborough. As he heard and felt the explosion in another part of the mine, it took him approximately 15 minutes to get out and call the shift superintendent. Rescue efforts started almost immediately. W.F. Eigenbrod, State Mines Director, personally directed the rescue teams. Normally, 44 men work in the mine. However, being Saturday, only 21 men reported for the morning shift. Otherwise, the tragedy might have been greater. Those listed as dead were Luther Bowyer of Maple Fork, Dallas Ayers of Beckley, Clarence Cummings of Fayetteville, Hubert Doughty of Carlisle, Howard Morris of Mount Hope, Robert Daniels of Maple Fork, and James McGuire of Mount Hope, listed as injured, but not seriously. Lloyd Markham, Don Legg, George Lane, Culloch Wiley, Ronald Keaton, Maxwell Wallace, all of the Oak Hill, Mount Hope, Beckley area. They're in satisfactory condition in the Oak Hill Hospital. A statement will be issued later by officials of the State Departments of Mines as to the exact cause cause of this disaster. This has been a special WOAY TV report.
This has been a Channel 4 News Special Report with Shirley Love and Sandy Higgins.